It's one of...
Solid? Okay. Hey everyone, and welcome to 10 Talks. I am your host, Kyle Garza.
My co-host, Don Trimble.
And I'm your co-host, Nick Busta.
And today we're going to be talking to you guys a little bit about the subject of how it was that we became teachers. What was it that compelled you into that life of education that everyone covets so much?
So when you say how we became teachers, do you mean like the secret ceremony? Like, because we can't talk about that.
No, it's obviously that's rule number one.
Did you just say everyone covets?
I still have
Stop.
my robes though. No, more so just, like why? Like what was it that compelled you towards education?
Sure.
So like I for example, I vividly remember where it started because I thought a lot about this because I like backtracking sometimes things like where I'm at a certain point in life and you get that introspective moment of like, how did I get here?
Sure.
And I really think for me, it started in third grade. I had a teacher that was teaching us like poetry, just like the basics of poetry, and basically just said, give it a shot, write your own. And I tried it for the first time, and she was like, oh my gosh, like I want to submit this to the National Anthology of Young Poets. And she submitted it, and it was accepted.
Hey.
And like literally, the first poem I ever wrote was, published. I mean, I say published, but it's probably not even like an actual big deal.
But still.
It is to you.
Yeah.
It
This can
felt like a big
change.
deal.
Yeah.
Where it was
Yeah.
like, oh, like I'm good at something that I made no effort to work at to be good. Like that's cool.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So that was like I think the beginning of my English path in particular. Where it met education was in 7th grade. So I went to this really small middle school that had probably like 20 kids in a classroom, kind of like ours. And I remember sitting in math class in particular. And mind you, while I am an English guy, math was also one of my strong suits. Even when I took my CBEST, one of those like teacher tests, my highest scoring section was math.
Okay.
And it was because I hadn't taken math in a long time in college. So I got one of the study books and just raced through it and got like nearly a perfect score.
Do you automatically like something if you're good at it?
This is the difference. Is
Oh.
I did not like math. I
Dude,
didn't enjoy it.
Everything you just said is me.
Really?
I
Okay.
You
I
were
just,
published in that anthology too?
we were just talking about Nacho Libre. I think I just said a line from Nacho
Yeah.
Libre. I like poopies.
Yeah.
And you were saying-
It's like
But
that.
yeah, no,
It's like
I'm
that.
good at math. Like, I think I'm one class away from getting my math minor, and I was always afraid if I finished my math minor, someone might make me
Yeah, like
Oh,
you. or something
okay,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
math. No.
Well, but here's the thing. Like, I liked that math made sense, that there were good formulas,
Yeah.
that you could get to objective answers.
Yeah.
Right.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I realized that's actually what I enjoyed about grammar in English, too, is there were objective answers for how you parsed sentences. I mean, the way we did it in middle school was you had to make the rocket ships.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen that before.
Uh-huh.
I remember as a kid, like, lamenting, like, why do I have to do this?
Right.
And now I'm older, especially, I recognize, like, wow, like, I have better reading comprehension than most people my age. I started picking that up in, like, 7th and 8th. I didn't have 8th grade, but 7th grade in particular, where it was like, wow, this has an effect on how I read sentences, on how I articulate my own thoughts. So that was my strong suit, was English especially. I had the highest grade in class in English, and it was just fun. I mean, the teacher I had actually went on to be a politician in California.
Wow.
But she was super inspiring, super funny, super fun.
Yeah.
I had a great time with English, especially. It came easily to me. But sitting in math class, I'm finally back to it now. There was this girl who sat next to me who I think, and this is my perception, there wasn't a day in class that went by where she didn't like practically burst into tears with I just don't get it.
Wow.
We're going through a lesson a day, and I don't understand what this is asking me to do. I don't understand how you got those numbers. And I really felt for her, especially because I had a lot of like really mean friends who, like, oh, she's crying again.
Yeah.
Just really mean. And I sat next to her.
Yeah.
And so I remember there was one class where I understood exactly what the thing was. The teacher was probably busy, helping other kids. She's over here just, defeated. And I just leaned over and was like, so what she's doing is this. And if you do this to this number and this, then this. And I'm like, does that make sense?
She didn't
And
get it.
Well, this is what was cool. No. This girl started crying less, started like really coming to it, kind of sniffling.
Cool.
But she was like, yeah, that makes sense. I get that. And it was at her saying that I was like, this feels good.
I feel good right now too.
The
Wow. Yeah.
the
Good moment.
natural
Can I sign up for your class?
altruism that is I get something and I have
Yeah.
the ability to communicate it to you in a way that you get it as well. That you
Sure.
can have
Definitely.
that, epiphany, that aha moment. I've never thought of it that way before. I think that was the real start of where education became my path.
Okay.
And then that was confirmed, I think, my freshman or sophomore year in high school when my youth pastor asked me to do like a 5-10 minute devotion at a summer camp. It was my first time teaching in front of people.
Yeah.
And basically afterwards, I think my senior pastor was there, my youth pastor was there, some random parent volunteers were there, and they were all like, "Oh, you need to teach.
Yeah.
That is for sure where you're gifted. If you don't use that, then you are wasting that."
Then you are sinning.
See, and I think I can definitely look back and remember moments where people said just that to me too.
Sure.
But I love that concept, like when you were talking, like, okay, so is teaching like the altruistic act?
Yeah.
Or can any act that a human being does be altruistic? Because I look back and I think, man, this is totally selfish.
Just because you enjoy it? Is that what
Yes,
you mean?
I love it.
I know what you mean.
And like, I don't know, I wonder about that and I think about that, and I think the more I've taught, maybe it's become more altruistic, because if you really love something, maybe you want to give that to someone
Sure,
else.
sure, sure.
That like concept. But I wanted to be a docketer.
A docketer?
A docketer?
A docketer of science?
A docketer of money, because I wanted to make money a lot.
So like,
And-
what, an accountant? Guy
No.
who just works in the stock market?
I didn't care what it was.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Some sort of, yeah. I just want to make money, man. And I wanted to be
of money.
Yeah, exactly. No, I thought, like that would be the altruistic act. So maybe I'd be doing good. I'm making people feel better in whatever way. I didn't know even really what field I wanted to go into. And I remember going to school. Like I went to the University of South Dakota, okay, and it does exist. And when I got there, it has a good med school.
State. I mean,
You can easily miss it.
Fun fact, in South Dakota, when you go there, because you totally go there, and when you're driving through, at one time, that was the most expensive building in the state of South Dakota, was their medical building.
Oh,
okay.
And it's a very good med school.
cutting
and
edge.
I went there with a dad who was an art teacher as well, growing up being really good at art,
Sure.
and everybody going, "Oh, you're going to be an art teacher just like your daddy." And thinking, no, not thinking. I take that back. Saying, no, I'm going to actually make money.
So you had the stereotype of the starving artist in your mind, basically.
And I loved it. I still made art, but I just did not want to teach. And then, it's cool looking back at those moments and just thinking like, okay, that person was supposed to be there. That person was supposed to say that. And like even realizing maybe what you're good at.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Like,
Okay.
and I even knew I was good at it, but no, I definitely had a moment. I look back, I think this was totally an epiphany moment in my life. And I go to sleep in my dorm. I remember sitting like back in the day, like I'm like sleeping that far, from the ceiling tiles, and waking, and and I was gonna say waking up, but I didn't even go to sleep. I'm just like staring at them, and like every fiber of my being like needed to paint. I don't even know how to describe it.
Wow.
Like
I've never had this urge in my life.
I'm telling you, I had to paint so bad. I just felt like at that moment I felt like a canvas was a square for me to contemplate anything I wanted to.
Yeah, I get that.
And school was not letting me do that. Every science class I had, I think I was only at school for like a week, and I hadn't even turned in an assignment. And I was just like, I've done this all before in high school. This is so boring right now. I didn't know why. And dude, it was like maybe 5 a.m. or something like that. I just started walking to find the college counselor, on campus, and I'm just waiting there. And she got there even like, hey, like, you're here early.
Yeah.
And I just, quote unquote, even said like, I just need to paint. I don't even think I told my parents. Katie was going, my wife, not at the time, but she was my girlfriend on campus. I didn't tell her. I changed my major that day.
Wow.
Whoa.
And she looked at me and even said, "Oh, this is great. Your first art history class is happening right here's your schedule. Go enjoy your little art history, buff, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm an art dude. And these were my first 2 class experiences. I got there, and it was the wrong class. She told me the wrong class.
Nice.
Only as I walked into an auditorium, the teacher was like, "Oh, we have someone joining us." So she announced me to all of my peers that went through all of, the school with me.
Yeah.
and then said, "Oh, you silly goose, you're in the wrong section. Why don't you just sit in the front row for the whole seat?" Or for the whole class, And
Is this a real person or is this just a stereotype?
It's church lady is what it is.
This is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But I sat there in front of everyone going, "This is great. This is awesome. I'm in the wrong class." And then the next class was the correct one. Sat through that.
Okay.
Enjoyed it. But then I went to my drawing class, the next one. It was figure drawing. I don't know why I didn't question that. I just gotten my bag, too, with all of my drawing supplies. And I remember, being so excited, opening it up in the class, like, yes, I'm figure drawing. Yeah. When the figure, the model walked in.
This is like the naked people drawing class.
It's not what it was entitled, but yes, it is. and I just remember, I'm still like, oh my gosh, look at my packet of pencils. And as this older gentleman walks in and was like, boom, drawing begins, and I'm like, this is what an art major is.
I don't want that.
And I seriously. It was through the whole process of me going through all of this, having moments, looking back, realizing I really even didn't want to teach. I just wanted to art. And then once I arted and I liked it, Katie got a job as an elementary school teacher. I'm subbing for what I think is fun. I just got the education part of that art degree, it was like a backup. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to sub for fun. And I remember going into her school, the elementary school, and kids clapping for me.
Aww.
I really, I remember that day. I had subbed all these art classes. It's elementary school. I would never. Yeah. What? Who would do it? Elementary art?
No,
bro. And I remember walking into the cafeteria later, and they were like,
"Oh, that is so cute."
So you felt like the celebrity that it is to be a teacher.
Is it though? Well, I felt it, but I don't know if it is.
To some.
Yeah, and that's how That's how I'm here, man.
Very cool. Wow, welcome to the world of demigodery.
Not
where you're in a room as the only expert. I think that is the world of teaching.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the way of putting it.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But you, Nick.
Okay, so mine goes back a bit of a ways. I'll try and keep it concise though. So, in terms, I fell in love with the subject material first. So.
Of history,
yeah. So I had the blessing of being able to teach world and U.S. history. And so when I think it was my school's D.C. trip. So I was in 8th grade.
Yep.
And
great trip.
Oh, it's fantastic. And
sure,
so
whatever school, it's a great trip.
And we had a very small school too. My 8th grade class was 4 kids, and so the 7th grade got to go too. And
not
so
not even a school. That's a family trip.
We had a phenomenal teacher-student ratio, and so the way our school would do it is because of the cost and everything, they would go every 2 years, and so 8th grade and 7th grade would always go together. And so I remember being in places where I have an older brother. He's about 2 years older than me, but we're only 1 grade apart. And so when he went, I don't even know. Anyway, so sorry, lost my train of thought there. So when he went to some places. He's like, yeah, it's just we went to the Supreme Court building, and it was like kind of boring, kind of thing. Or, he enjoyed the trip, but there were some parts where he was like, yeah, But then we went to the same places, and when I sat down in the back of in the Supreme Court, I'm like, it's the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I read about these guys, and
you
they're there. Yeah, I'm there's Chief Justice
chills.
Rehnquist. He's right there, and I'm like, it's like hallowed ground almost. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And then being at Gettysburg, I'm like, this is Gettysburg.
Yeah, I felt that at Gettysburg too. Yeah, that was heavy.
And then, but then I would feel that everywhere, and so, I'm like, this is
Benjamin Franklin eats soup here.
I was like, this is dinner. Wow. Yeah,
it's a Chipotle now. Which is actually how some areas in Boston are like.
Well, yeah, about right. And so, just really enjoying that. And then I just had really good teachers when I went to high school. And I remember it was my U.S. history teacher my junior year in high school. And he really inspired me in terms of what it means to be a teacher. He knew the material. You could tell he really had a passion for it, but he was he had a very dry sarcasm.
Yeah.
And so he would mess with the kids a little bit, not too much. Yeah, not too much.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, and we just really responded to that. And I remember sitting in class, having him teach, and I'm just every day I was in love with what we were talking about.
Nice.
I still get a little, when we talk about textiles, something about that word. When we talk about the textile industry, I'm like, that just sounds boring. But I'm still wrestling with that myself. But
wrestling with the Industrial Revolution.
like that part is cool. One thing
Let
like
it lie.
it all started with textiles. Like it sounds like linoleum, and I'm like that's just
Linoleum.
yeah.
Wow.
And so I was watching him teach, and I'm thinking, I can do that. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Huh.
What really helped too was that was 2001, and I was that was the year, September 11th happened. I was a junior in U.S. history, and instead of going through the lesson plans, he just said, we had a block schedule, so 90 minutes. And he just goes, shoves all this stuff away and goes, let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about the context.
Let's talk about history being made.
Yeah. And I remember closing the book, and on the front of the book was the New York skyline.
Wow.
And there are the Twin Towers.
Wow.
Right there. And I saved the book. I still have it. I have my junior year U.S. history textbook because I just knew.
Did you pay for that?
Was it for the? Well, yeah. I was,
Okay, just make sure.
Yeah. Everybody. So I stole it, and so
I returned that book at the end of the year, man.
And so I mean, like
That's
I was
so cool.
I was like, I'm gonna need this one day.
Yeah. What an impact.
And so that's just everything from then on out. It was, I'm gonna be a U.S. history teacher. I remember going to college, during freshman orientation. They were saying, everyone look around the room. You look around, and they say, 80% of you are gonna change your major by the time you're a senior.
Like, heck no.
And I'm like,
I'm all in.
not me. No.
Yeah.
And so, sure enough.
Hey, you guys knew.
Yeah,
you guys plan things. I'm impressed.
And you're spontaneous. I'm impressed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with everything.
It takes all sorts. That's
right.
Well, that has been today's episode of 10 Talks. Until next time, we'll say once again, we love you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.
And my name's Don Trimble.
Yeah. Shut up.
I'm sorry. I just had to get it on camera. Can you leave it in, please?
No. Don't leave it in.
I was waiting the whole time for that.
I was wondering, is he gonna do it? I just had a feeling.
Consciously making an effort. Don't
I'm
say
sorry.
your name, Kyle. Just let it lie.
Because it doesn't matter at all, but I want it to matter now, so I'm making it matter to you more. I literally was waiting the whole time.